You've been serving everyone, yet being served the least. Not anymore. Welcome back, everybody. We had a fantastic episode, talking about all the things. And today we are talking about, is your lack of confidence keeping you unhappy? Yep, it's time to talk about it, Black women. Is your lack of confidence keeping you unhappy? Because I know there's some confidence issues. There's a lack of belief there. We're about to talk about it right now. So let's just get right into it. Having confidence is a key part to living a happy life. And the studies have proven that those with confidence make more money, have happier relationships, and are generally more successful than those who don't. I know all about that because my life has infinitely changed in the last few years as a result of me stepping into my confidence and stepping into a high level of belief and just knowing that I'm worthy and walking in my purpose. When you're confident in yourself, you believe in your abilities. Everything you need is everything you have. That is the third principle of the Patent Leather Project, my guiding principles that I live with every day. Because again, oftentimes Black women feel like we need to qualify ourselves, right? If she doesn't feel confident, she goes and get another degree. She goes and get a certificate. She goes and volunteers and serve. Do all these things that don't really serve her or give her money. Let's just call it out. It ain't no money in all of that after a while. And so everything you need is everything you have. And you just have to be confident enough to believe that you're worthy of the life that you've lived, that it's wrapping up in a bow to walk you into your purpose. So let's get into it. How do we know we lack confidence? Right? It manifests itself in a steady feeling of inferiority that can prevent you from making progress and accomplishing your goals in life. So if you feel inferior, if you feel like you don't have what it takes, or you're always looking at the next person to see what they have, then you know what? Your confidence is going to be in the trash. Okay. But oftentimes we don't need to look at what other people are doing. Again, in the last episode, we just write down your successes and your accomplishments, right? And you will see that everything you need is everything you have. And then a lot of times, a lot of people don't know exactly where they stand in terms of their confidence level. They may be confident in one area of their lives, but they lack it in another area. But I can tell you one thing, what we do in one area of our lives is what we do in all. So I guarantee you it's showing up in all places and spaces, but you're able to withstand because in some areas you're probably validated or a little bit more empowered. But what we do in one area is what we do in all. And then also many people have low confidence, but aren't always aware to realize what is holding them back. So I know a lot of people who are confident, right? Maybe we can split that up and maybe say a little bit arrogant, whatever the case may be, but they don't really know what's holding them back from what I call entering the dreaming zone of life. That's that radical level of those things you've always dreamed about when you were a child, that you wanted, that you just never thought was attainable. I was talking to someone the other day and I said, when you were a kid, were you like me when you went past the house and you would be like, that's my house, that's my car? Every day you would do that. But then, you realize you 30-something years old and where's that car? Where's that house? Or are we still just dreaming, or are we entering the dreaming zone? Because those things are afforded to you. Who says you can't have it? I know for me, when I didn't realize what was holding me back, one of the things I would always say to myself is, I remember I was in high school and I would say, my mom would always say, you're going to give me $5 or $10 if you keep the heat up, because I'm a person who's always cold and I wanted the heat turned up. I mean, it just is what it is, Mom. That's what I wanted. But I also understood I'm not paying the bill. And so I remember saying to myself, when I grow up, I'm going to have the heat on as long as I want it to be on. And I remember 3 years ago, probably a little bit longer, I was in Los Angeles and I get a heat bill for $250. Now, before you guys judge me and you're like, it's Los Angeles, why are you even turning the heat on like that? Baby, it gets cold. Okay. The last few weeks in December and the first couple of weeks in January, it is cold. We can blow out some air and you're going to see some steam. You can believe me, just come here and see for yourself. But I remember also there's no ventilation in the walls like it is where I'm from in Chicago, because you can literally be in 2 degrees in Chicago outside and then step inside, and then you don't even have to wear clothes because it's so insulated to protect you from all of the cold air. But LA doesn't have that because they don't necessarily need it. So when it is cold, it's cold, and the heat doesn't hold inside of the apartment. So I was turning it on all day. I mean, I didn't want to be uncomfortable. I mean, one of my friends told me I dress up just to go to sleep, which I will never forget him saying. It's hilarious to me. But yeah, I'm cold and I don't want to be cold. So I used to say as a child, when I grow up, I'm going to pay whatever it costs for my heating bill. I'm not going to go through this. But when I received that bill for $250, it was a different story. That's not what I believed at that point. I was going crazy. I was reactive. What? Oh my God, how am I going to pay this? This is when I was acting like I had confidence but wasn't making any money. It looked good on the outside. I was getting some nice gigs, working with a few celebrities, but there wasn't no money up behind the scenes. And so I'm struggling, trying to figure it out. I'm overwhelmed. And so, one of the things that happened that's just so pivotal in my transformation is I began to really go deeper in my spiritual connection. You're going to hear me talk about that all the time because spiritual grounding is absolutely necessary to get to a level of peace. And I was willing to try another way. I remember being in my bed and praying to God and saying, look, this is what's happening to me. I don't know what I'm going to do about it, but you told me not to worry, that things are already taken care of for me, right? Sacrifice of Jesus. But so what I can do, what I should do is stop what I'm doing, pray about it, and then literally leave it somewhere. And I said I could do that because, there wasn't no money to be able to pay the bill. So if this was something else that I could try, I was willing to do it and willing to do anything, because it wasn't just that bill. I was getting so many other bills like every day. It's the reaction for me that I remember that I just couldn't really, when I look back, I'm like, wow, I was really struggling with a low self-worth. But I remember that day and I prayed about it, and I just laid in the bed, I face towards the wall, never forget. And about 30 minutes later, I get a phone call asking me to do Rashida's makeup from Love and Hip Hop. And I said, well, how much? What's the rate? It was a come and go, which in entertainment, you just go do the makeup and then you can leave. So they said $300. I said, what? $300. And the agency I worked with at the time, they took a 10% cut off of gigs less than $1,000. So you might subtract $30 and it was $270. Now I need you guys to understand that 30 minutes prior to that, I was going crazy. I didn't know how I was going to get this money. And then 30 minutes later, I'm offered a job, not only with a high profile client, but for $270. Where they do that at? So I tell you one thing, when that happened to me, I sat there and I giggled and I laughed and I said, God, you really do have me. And I can submit to this. I can do this again. And so it's been really pivotal in my transformation to stop and to give it all to God. And that's one of the ways that I exhibit my confidence, by knowing that I don't have to be in control. I don't have to figure it out. Again, we talked about that in the last episode. So, most people don't know why they're struggling when others seem to have it so easy. And I can't tell you what everyone else's method is, but I know for me, especially in these last 2.5, 3 years, life has looked a bit easy for me on the outside. The journey still continues, but it's my confidence that keeps me going and doing it scared, which is what I call courage. So what I do is I just practice being more courageous than I'm ever going to, lack confidence. And that's just where I'm at with it right now. So that's how I know that I lack confidence and how I see it in other people. But what causes a lack of confidence, you guys? Let's start with the first reason, because I want to just get right to it. Childhood trauma. Is that a curse word? I don't know. You guys let me know. But I'm going to say childhood trauma. In health terms, they call it adverse childhood experiences, ACEs. But, if someone experienced trauma as a child, it can often have a lasting effect in adulthood. I could tell that my reactions was because this is what I experienced in my childhood. This is how I was made to react when things were too rough for me, and I didn't have a way to see myself out of it. So, it just has a lasting effect, you guys. And you have to understand that you are not just out here misbehaving on your own. But a lot of people are scared to do the work to see where it actually comes from so that they can try another way. I'll also say experiencing abuse can also lead to low confidence. Physical, sexual, and emotional abuse can make it extremely difficult to enjoy life. Like the world, trust yourself, trust in other people, which are all factors that greatly impact our self-esteem. I know emotional abuse was a huge one for me. But again, I never blame any person. I blame the system of generational trauma. Still, it's my story. And behind every face is a story, and I get to tell it. Because there's healing in telling your story. Also, trauma and abuse can make you feel empty. Further, you may have found unhealthy strategies to cope with the trauma you experience, and you end up viewing yourself as being shameful as well. Well, we haven't even talked about Los Angeles, okay? Lonely Los Angeles. I know all about the shame and not wanting to be in front of people to let them know what's been happening in my life. I didn't know any strategies the earlier part of me living in LA, but what I could tell you, Los Angeles for me means lonely and alone. And you'll hear me talk about that more. Doggone right, I'm gonna write a book about it, and that's the chapter, Los Angeles, Lonely, Alone. Also, the childhood years mold a person's life. So a dysfunctional childhood can trigger feelings of low confidence throughout life. So again, I wasn't really affirmed. I wasn't really validated. I remember my first trip out of the country. I remember coming home after I went to China at 19 years old, and my family and friends, well, no, I'm not going to say friends. What the hell? Family was saying things like, well, you think you all that. Okay, don't nobody want to hear that. And over the years, I stopped talking about my first international trips, which I was so excited about. They changed my entire life. And so I didn't have the confidence to speak out loud about the good things that I was doing. Not only was I traveling the world, graduating with honors, a part of different organizations, I was high achieving, but I was also just wanting to be seen, valued, and heard. And that was the best way that I did it. So that's the grace that I give myself now. Also, children growing up in households where there's a lot of fighting can cause a child to think they're responsible for the problems and end up condemning themselves. Again, if you guys ever look up adverse childhood experiences, there's 10 different types of them. And one of them is just, family dysfunction. And so oftentimes you feel like it is your fault, especially if people don't want to take responsibility and ownership for how they show up in the world. They tend to put it on someone else. And a lot of times it'll be your own kids, your own family members, the people youngest. It's just a vicious cycle. And once the child grows up, he or she winds up being timid and unable to confidently face the world. Now, if you know me, people would not say that about me, but I had a really good poker face in life, you guys. But I was struggling. I was lonely. I was alone. I really just wanted to find another way. Thank God for the grace and me being willing to try another way. But another reason why people lack confidence is, disapproving friends and family. Growing up with authority figures can impair one's confidence, especially when they disapprove. If you grow up constantly hearing that whatever you do isn't good enough, you're not likely to become an adult who has a positive self-image. If you were often criticized for everything you did, no matter how hard you try, it's hard to gain confidence and become comfortable in your own skin later on in life. And again, this is why I really believe that women overcompensate by going to get more degrees, going to get more certifications. They'll take a class, they'll go help out the next person. They'll lowball themselves with their services, because that's a big one. We're going to talk about that one soon. But I mean, the lowball is serious because they're not confident in who they are and all that they are to this world. And so when you have people around you who are disapproving, especially when it's subconscious and you don't even know that that's what's happening, oftentimes a lack of confidence follows it. So another reason is a poor self-image. So people who, I would say, have an unhealthy lifestyle, so people who are overweight, and don't have a good habits, and find their appearance to be distasteful in any way, they find it hard to be confident. They begin to have a poor self-image. So if someone tends to look down upon their appearance for any reason, they're likely to shy away from social gatherings and not want to face the world. That's why it's hard to get out there and make a lot of money. You're scared of being vulnerable and meeting new people. But I can imagine if, especially living in America, and the standard of beauty, right, is and you feel like you don't fit that. If they're saying the average size is somewhere like a 9 or a 10, and you're sitting over here at 16 or 18, and the media is telling you that this is what perfection looks like, I can imagine that it's going to make it hard when you're going to pick out clothes, and especially making it to the social gathering. You probably just won't make it. And I know I'm a person who existed in a family who always said I was fat. Always had something to say every time I came inside the door. They just couldn't shut up and just say, "Hey, Toya, how are you?" And again, I remember this as a child. And so I can just imagine the toll that it has on the self-esteem of others and the confidence. I'm short with a big butt. My mom and dad are short with big butt. My dad's butt is really high also. So what do you think was going to happen with me? And it's actually kind of sad, because when I look back at my pictures when I was a child, even early adulthood, I was small. I wasn't big at all. Even today, like, I look good, I feel good, but I still have to contend with those voices in my head that I had to deal with when I was younger. So the poor self-image is really real. And it's my hope that we create habits for ourselves so that we can just begin to feel better about ourselves, irregardless of how we look. The next thing I want to talk about is an oppressive professional career. Now, this one is huge. So oftentimes women, we need to feel an obligation to present an image of strength and to suppress our emotions. I talked about this on the last episode. As a Black woman, being human is usually a weapon to people, not just your colleagues. It's usually a weapon to your friends and your family. That's something that I noticed a couple of years ago. When I speak, it is literally weaponized. Therefore, I have no space to be seen, valued, and heard. I literally do not matter in that moment. Only it took me just a couple of years ago to realize what was happening. In the last episode, I told you guys to look up patriarchal stress disorder. If you didn't do it then, do it now, because it's real, and you've been out here serving everyone yet being served the least, and it has taken a toll on your confidence. Because all I see is women doing is sacrificing themselves to help the next. We're oftentimes in our workplace underutilized. We're merely just existing instead of thriving. I call this coasting through life. So when I talk to a woman who's making money in her job, and because that's who I work with. I work with women who are degreed. They make money. They're not poor. They're just coasting through life. They want something different. They're underwhelmed. They're helping everyone else. They're not being seen. They want freedom still. They don't feel free. And that is my client. She is me. I am her. And that's why it's hard, to make a lot of money, because of the oppression that we face throughout working our careers, and then not being able to go home to feel validated with the way that we're feeling about how life is showing up for us. But how are we serving ourselves? Because we're not making the kind of money we want. We're unfulfilled at our jobs, and we want to be seen. So How are we serving ourselves when we step outside and we go into these oppressive places all the time? Not just our career, but again, with friends, family, even of the opposite sex. I know a whole lot of women who are with men who don't even like them, but that's a topic for another day. I'm not a relationship expert. So with that being said, let's talk about what the lack of confidence actually looks like. Again, there are many, but I'm going to talk about maybe about 5 or 6, I think. I got about 6 here. And the first one is you are unable to accept compliments. How many times have you complimented a woman and she diminishes that compliment by saying, oh, this old thing, or, oh, I'm still working out, or I got to lose some more weight, or I didn't wear no makeup today, or whatever it is. Like, how many times do we diminish that compliment? We can't even take it. But if we have the confidence, we're able to accept the compliment because we believe that they are true. So if we have the confidence, we're able to accept compliments because we believe they're true. And a lot of times we don't believe the compliments that are said to us. We don't believe it internally. And why would we? Look at what the world has done. The second way is we care about what other people think. Again, when we are confident, we don't really care what other people think because we know we love ourselves and we know that that's all that matters. But again, we talked about how to self-love on yourself more. A lot of times we're not really doing that work. And so we do care about what other people think because we haven't fostered our own relationship with self. Like, we know we aren't living to make other people happy. We're living to make ourselves happy. And so you need to see yourself as capable and able to succeed. This battle in life is you against you. And this is my hope for every woman out here, especially the ones who are looking for personal freedom, who want better relationships in their life, and who want to make the most money they've ever made in their life. Because that's the work that I do. But you have to see yourself as capable and able to succeed. This is you against you. You also neglect yourself with unhealthy habits. You don't take the time to care for yourself. When you have low self-confidence, you think, what's the point? And I see this a lot when, we decide to just eat any old kind of food and we just drink all the sugary drinks, get all the salty chips, forego working out. We don't even want to take a walk around the house, anything. We don't want to do anything to serve ourselves. We think, what is the point, right? Who's going to love me? Who's going to accept me? Who's going to promote me? You stop spending the time to look your best and you provide, the best self-care you need to be your best. That is what we can offer ourselves in this self-care journey. Also, you're unwilling to take on challenges. Again, without confidence, you may believe you'll fail at your endeavors. So you don't put yourself out there to even try. It seems that anything new isn't worth the effort, since you're already convinced that you'll fail. I think about that with my business and how many years I struggled to get it going. And I would always start around January, fall off around March or April, and just continue to look for makeup gigs. Again, I wasn't making money. And so I didn't want to take on the challenge to really go deeper in my personal work because that's what really needed to happen for me to catapult to the next level. I didn't even put myself out there to even try. I convinced myself that I will fail. And so because the possibility of failure was just so daunting, I didn't want to risk it. Again, God said to me in June 2019, what are you afraid to lose that I'm not going to give you on the other side of your obedience? And again, that was the first thing that I could do to try another way. Another way that we lack confidence is that we make excuses. When criticized, a person with low self-confidence will make excuses for their actions or choices so they don't appear inferior. Confident people stop and listen to criticism with an open mind before deciding whether or not it's helpful. They can put criticism into the proper context without believing it defines them. Again, remembering that most of the time what people are saying out of their mouth is a projection of how they see the world. They have nothing to do with what you want for your life and your vision. They can't see what it is that you want. So people who are confident understand the difference between those two, and they're able to not take things personally, and they don't make excuses for how they want to show up in the world. Like literally the criticism and or critique has no bearings on what they need to do to get out of their own way and stop making excuses. Also accepting personal responsibility feels like a weakness, even though it's a sign of inner strength and self-awareness. Again, critique is good. Criticism isn't that great, but when you critique me, it allows me to be responsible for how I'm showing up in the world. Again, what can I control? What can I control? But it's really a sign of inner strength, of self-awareness. All we want to do is just move forward and get to a better quality of life. And to do that, we need to be able to accept personal responsibility for how we show up in the world. The other way is you need approval, right? This is the sixth way. You need approval. This makes entrepreneurship very hard for these kind of people. For these kind of women. People with low self-confidence need to feel validated by having the approval of others. And to me, this is the reason why a lot of people will continue to work for people and to work within systems that do not serve them, because they need to have the approval of others. Especially for Black folk, we're so used to working for somebody and telling them when we should be, and them telling us when we need to be promoted or when we've done a good job. Whether we should know in our own accord that we are doing well and we are showing up for ourselves. We don't need the approval of anyone else, because a lot of times it's their version of approval and it's not ours. And to honor ourselves is to get in control of how we're showing up, and to give us and to applaud ourselves for our good efforts at the end of the day. But because, not getting that approval is frustrating, and it can further lower your self-confidence. And why do we even need that? We're showing up, we're waking up every day, we're getting ready to go outside to serve. We really want to serve. We got all the degrees, we got everything we need to be successful. Why would we want to frustrate ourselves by getting the approval of other people who are not with us when we wake up every day and begin our days? They're not with us when we set out our vision and we have our goals for how we want to live our life and the people we want to help. We do not need the approval of anyone else but ourselves. But the person suffering from confidence issues can accept that not everyone will approve of their actions or agree with their decision. And one thing we say, church folk always say, is they killed Jesus. So they killed Jesus. Why do you think you're special? So you got to know that you're going into this world knowing that people are not going to like you, especially when you start to show up for yourself. But here are some ways to overcome the lack of confidence. Let's take a deep dive into our belief systems, our thought patterns, and our emotional reactions. Because I guarantee you, if we change what we believe about ourselves, then we will not go into a pattern of diminishing, devaluing, self-deprecating behaviors that usually lead to an emotional reaction like high anxiety, depression, stress, or just loneliness. Right? Let's take a deep dive to rid ourselves of that and get more confident about who we are. Also, I said this in the last episode, but question everything about your life. You have to apply skepticism. You have to ask, is it true? Right? These belief systems that we've had since we've been children, they weren't ours. They were somebody else who gave it to us when we had no agency over our whole life. But now you're older, you're an adult, you want things for yourself. You're uncomfortable, you're coasting through life. You're overwhelmed. Question the life that you're living and ask yourself, is this true? What I think about myself. Also, we can write a new vision that honors the person that we want to be. I call this write the vision and make it plain. You doggone right, it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable, but you get to set out a new vision for your life that includes you and only you, and how you want to honor yourself, how you want to serve the world. You owe that to yourself every day you wake up. We are not meant to be in this world to be lonely. We are not meant to be here to be sad and frustrated and high anxiety and full of health problems. That's not our life. We do not have to live that way, Black women. You've been serving everyone, yet being served the least. Not anymore. When are you going to decide? And deciding looks like creating daily habits. So again, it's how you show up for yourself. That's all this is ever about. Like, are you taking care of your health? Are you taking care of your physical and mental health? Are you spiritually grounded? Are you looking at the relationships around you to see how they serve you? Are you working the career that's going to bring you fulfillment? And what is the dollar amount attached to that? Because it should be huge. And we're going to talk about my percentage on the percentage of how I think women downplay themselves when they're going out for jobs and negotiating their salary and or creating services within their business. It is crazy how we are playing the game of playing small. And so when you create these habits for yourself, you start to feel more affirmed. You start to think positive. I can tell you I'm a living example of this. My life has infinitely changed in the last 3 years. But also I can tell you women that I've worked with, their life has changed. It is completely different. One of my clients, she constantly says, "You changed my life." And I'm overwhelmed at her saying that, because it's not me, it's God doing it. Because I'm walking in my purpose. I'm being courageous. I wasn't a perfect person when I was working with her. I was inside of my transformation, but I was willing to be vulnerable. I was willing to show up and be honest and self-aware, and I was doing it scared. And I knew that I had the grace of God on my side, who was saying, no matter what, you are worthy. No matter what, you are accepted. You don't need to be validated by anyone else. You matter. Stay there for a while. That is what he asked me to do when he asked me to only listen to him for a year straight. This was in November of 2019 when God commanded me to be so obedient to him and not listen to anyone else. And I said yes. And keep in mind, we had a whole COVID-19 happen in 2020. And he said, still listen to me. And I'll talk about what that journey looked like on the inside, because it wasn't easy. And I know that this is what the very thing that women are scared to tap into. They are scared to do away with the things that don't serve them, to see a life of alignment, of purpose, better relationship, family, love, protection, security, all of that. It's afforded to you. But you need to give yourself the grace to say, hey, this is how I've been operating, and I just want to change. I just want to be different. That is how I started my journey. And again, I'm never going back. I'm never going back. I will always do it scared, because doing it scared is better than someone telling me I can't do it at all. I want to conclude by saying, if you find that you show signs of low confidence, it's time to do something about it. I gave you some strategies to help you overcome them. But again, Pet Leather Project is here for you. You got to be patient and kind to yourself as you work on becoming a more confident person. If you are persistent with your efforts, you'll notice significant improvements in your self-confidence. You really will, guys. You must decide. I'm glad you guys enjoyed that. I hope you did. This is how you can get in touch. Again, I offer virtual coaching for millennial women who are looking to the blueprint to personal freedom, right? They are tired of serving everyone, yet being served the least. And so I help women build confidence, walk in their purpose, and make healthy, informed decisions about their personal and professional life. I'm just here as a guide to help you show up for yourself, to gain that confidence, and enter the dreamy zone of life where you have better, positive relationships, all while holding yourself in the highest regard and making the most money you've ever made. Come on. Get at me. Find me, info@patentleatherproject.com. I am here for you. It is my life's mission and purpose. I know that I am anointed, that all good things are going to happen because I submit to it. I'm courageous. I do it scared. And I work with women who are ready to invest in themselves and change their life. Along with virtual coaching, I offer consulting. So I help small and medium-sized corporations develop their corporate identity and branding using mental health strategies and business strategic planning. What I do is empower those teams and staff to build confidence and work towards the vision and mission of their company while also looking at personal pursuits. Again, people work for people. It might be a corporation, but inside of there is humans. And we need to make sure that we are all empowered to work towards the mission and vision of not only the company, but in our personal lives. You matter even when you step inside of a business and they say you don't. You matter. info@patentleatherproject.com if you're interested in consulting services at your place of business. Also, how to get in touch, media appearances and lecturing. You're going to see me all over the screen, you guys. I love a reality TV show. I love morning talk shows. I love talking at your favorite college and university. It's just my honor to serve. So as long as that is available to me, I will be there to serve. So get in touch with me at info@patentleatherproject.com for media appearances and lecturing. Last but not least, social media. I am Latoya Deshawn, okay? Latoya Deshawn with a U. LATOYA DESHAUN. You can catch me on all the social media internet. What is it? Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, wherever. I'm mostly on Instagram, teaching and preaching. You can also find my YouTube page, Everything on Purpose with Latoya Deshawn. And as I told you before, I am a personal makeup artist to high profile talent. My work, I love my work. I love serving people on high profile. Those are the high achievers. They show up for themselves. They have really great habits. And it's an honor to serve them as they go for the biggest jobs in their career. That's it. That's all I gotta say. You matter. Be confident in yourself. Show up for yourself. And I will see you on the next episode.